The white world has always tried to rob and discredit us of our history. They tell us that Tutankhamun, the king of Egypt, who reigned about the year 1350 BC, was not a black man, that the ancient civilization of Egypt and the pharaohs was not of our race. But that does not make the truth unreal. Every student of history of impartial mind knows.
Do you know what
those are white people, by the way?
Who are white people?
The Egyptians are not African. I'm sorry.
Do you know where Egypt is?
Yes, it's in North Africa.
Okay, stop. You stop right there. You just said that you said the Egyptians are not African.
Are white South Africans?
It is vocally impossible to speak the Meta
That's how you maintain white supremacy, getting groups of people to all agree on the same damn lie. That's how white supremacy is maintained. Groups of people who believe in white supremacy come up with the same lie, stick to that lie, and stay on.
These are nostrils. It is a biological fact that Africans have a wider nose because we have to consume more oxygen on an inhale.
No matter what, and then get what they need done based on the lie that they've all agreed to. We see that happening in case after case when we see black children getting their brains blown out. The white supremacists will put out a lie. Well, the black kid was aggressive. The black kid was resisting. Then all the other white supremacists, prosecutors, white supremacist media, white supremacist jurors.
But when we look at the Egyptian statues and busts and you see them alpine noses, nobody has nothing to say about it.
Millions will all agree on that one lie. So yes, a whole bunch planned on doing that all along. Then they pointed out the tokenized black women.
When we see Ramses with red hair, we got people making up lame excuses, talking about, oh, it's because some scientific chemical reaction.
Use black women as pawns and then push them out there and say, hey, it's not racist. Look, a couple of these black women are saying the same thing.
Well, there's research that we're hearing today that shows half of all Western European men are somehow related.
Use black women as pawns and then push them out there and say, hey, it's not racist. Look, a couple of these black women are saying the same thing.
What's up with this?
It's really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
So this is coming out of Switzerland, and the researchers there have found that not only do half of Western European men have this connection, genetic profile connection, but 70% of men in Britain, which is astounding. But they all have the same genetic
people
profile.
Who are white.
How are people?
But you're allowing them. You're pushing them out there to say the same thing. You don't give a shit about black women. Black women out here suffering at the hands of white supremacy.
This is why African people talk like who or my name is Kamu, because we have to take a deeper breath because of the thin oxygen layer of density.
Ancestry as King Tut from Egypt way back when.
It's hard to believe. I mean, King Tutankhamun, I think, lived probably to be about 14. How did he get around with all that?
Yeah, he didn't get past his teenage years, and he only ruled for 10 years. But I guess it goes back even further than that. And here's what's really shocking about this. Less than 1% of modern-day Egyptians have that same connection.
And then you take a crew like the Amara Squad, right? And they'll attack the Hebrews on things like this. Why don't y'all take a DNA test and see if you're really Hebrew? See if you got that date. Well, they did the DNA test on a lot of these pharaohs. And guess what? Even to I heard people try to debunk it with like Tutankhamun. But if either you're going to accept the white man's science or not, it's not white now. Now all of a sudden it becomes white man's science. Before that they argue, well, it's not white man's science, it's just science. But when the white man say Tutankhamun is related to 70% of the Europeans on Earth, now all of a sudden, oh, we can't trust the European. Well, when can we trust them? Why is it convenient you trust them when it suits your philosophy? So either he got the science down or we don't, because according to him, Tutankhamun was a European that's related to 70% of the Caucasians on the planet.
People talk deep and you make fun of them because they're literally taking a full breath. So why is this important? The African could never speak the fucking Meta Nature in the way you speak it today, bitch, because they have a different accent.
Getting groups of people to all agree on the same damn lie. That's how white supremacy is maintained. Groups of people who believe in white supremacy come up with the same lie, stick to that lie, and stay on code no matter what, and then get what they need done based on the lie that they've all agreed to. We see
Now,
that
new DNA analysis of Egyptian mummies has revealed that, unlike modern Egyptians, those living in ancient times had little kinship with sub-Saharan Africans. The study found that ancient Egyptians had close genetic ties with people from parts of what are now Iraq, Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, and Israel.
People who are white.
So it's scientifically a fact that they could not have been speaking the shit that you niggas are speaking today. Say meta nature and see if you don't hold your breath. Try it, family. Ain't nobody at home with you in the room. Just say meta nature.
Maintain white supremacy, getting groups of people to all agree on the same damn lie. That's how white supremacy is maintained. Groups of people who believe in white supremacy come up with the same lie, stick to that lie, and stay on code no matter what, and then get what they need done based on the lie.
Now try to say that shit
in
the African. Try to say meta nature. You can't do it. The ease is like in prison. It's like a fucking prison cell on your goddamn vocal cords. You cannot do it. Period. You cannot say meta nature in the African dialect.
Can I get a little applause? It's too late. It is too late. It's too late. I'm going to go through that video because this is just about the miseducation of the albino. Propaganda. I need to roll my R's when I say it. I don't really want to cuss that much in this, but that's a motherfucker. These are all different. One or two may be cute. This is like from a blind British team. They didn't know who they was dealing with. Somebody didn't give them the memo. They were just going by the skull shape. And once again, these are his parents because he's inbred. So they had kids and their kids made him. So basically, these are his parents. And the people who did this, they know this. They know this. They know this skull shape. That's one of the reasons I don't really mess with oid science too much like that. Cacainoid and whooptoid, mectoid. I'm trying to think of the exotic oids. The popular ones are mongoloid, negroid, or is it mongoloid, negroid, and caucasoid? I think I don't mess with oid science because that's a shell game. They see this head shape, they see this, and they know what they're dealing with. Now, just think about all this based on a lie. Based on a lie. Because you ever seen, what's that movie? Borat. I watched that movie. I thought Kazakhstan really had some potassium. I thought Kazakhstan had premium potassium. It was just a movie. It wasn't true. You know, when I was a kid, I was kind of a Hollywood brat, and I was on a movie set, and I sit down, and I'm sitting on what I think is a rock, but it's a little bit too soft. I'm getting too comfortable, so I touch it, and the rock is made out of foam. That's how this lie came around. You know, the actual magazine stuff that I showed you from Net Geo in part 2. You can scroll back. Maybe I'll just pull it up. Hold on. There's a lot of these, so I got to scroll. Let's see. All right, here we go. The Net Geo. There was a TV show based on this data. And an ancestry company looked at that TV show and ran what was on the TV show. And actually, it wasn't even this data. It was this data and more, because this isn't even enough data, and this was the only data that was released. The actual ancestry tests, this one, and this one, is based on that data. This stuff is based on a TV prop. It's based on nothing. It's a lie. It's a straight up lie. They got her just showing her teeth as hard as she can. Why? I hate that they would do this, because that's wrong, to have her abase herself like that. And then you got the two faces of ancient Egypt. Slick shit. And then they showing Tut. You know what I mean? His actual ancestry test was ran. These news, CBS, they're talking about the Abu Sir mummies. In the first, because they was testing people in 85. They was testing Neanderthals, 10,000 years old bones out in the elements. Dogs and saber-tooths, they've chewed on the bones and they still test them. All kinds of timberwolves have chewed on these bones and they still they're getting full genomes out of Neanderthals. They're lying. This is fake news. Just letting you know that. Now, I'll say one thing that Lex Vortex got right. There should be more focus on West Africa, but it has to be in context, because ancient Egypt is only, like, from what I hear, 15% dug up tops. So if it's barely dug up, that's a live gold mine information. West Africa got a mine too, and Central Africa, Southern Africa. Like, supposedly that's the biggest man-made object. And who's gone down there to verify this, to do anything on this, on the wall of Benin? Because you can see it from Google Maps, but it's, you kind of double, it doesn't stand out that much because it's thin and it's underneath certain things. It goes underground and stuff. These are Titchit. This is Ghana, I think. These are old. Like, this is contemporary with the Nile Valley. Some degree. Ghana is a little bit like half contemporary. It's younger. And then these are different types of writings in West Africa. In Sabiti, I think that's also in Sabiti. And then the Dinkras. And then the Dogon have a script. Yeah, she got in Sabiti, it was strange though. In Sabiti, Nesabiti. I wonder if there's a connection with that, because they share supposedly, and I don't know this. Like, I'm going by other people. They'll say they share inscriptions, letters. There's not enough of us studying this. Like, I should have been taught this. This is one area where we're weak. You know what I mean? Because ancient Egypt does serve as a decoder ring when you're looking through other parts of Africa. But if you already have ancient writings, you got to bring those to the forefront. What is this saying? You know what I mean? There are people who are working with the Dogon, though. That goes way back. I think the person who's doing it the most right now is Anthony Browder.
When we look at the Egyptian statues and busts, and you see them alpine noses, nobody has nothing to say about it.
I hope that played right, if you heard that. I know he's talking about noses. If not, I got Lex on here twice. Let me play Lex again. Lex, to me, that dude is a trip. He is out there. Let it rip, Lex. No, this is Pharaoh. Ninja. Yeah, let me tell you, Pharaoh was really doing it like that. He was really, that's his thing. He was arguing that dark-skinned dude and that albino chick, that homeboy's nose was too wide to speak or writing. Like, he ain't even saying the name of the language because he don't know. I mean, that Young Pharaoh has bells on his feet too much, man. He needs to take them bells off, because all he's doing is just acting a fool. And it's funny, until you look at how many fans he got to take that shit seriously. Like, yo, you have a pretend teacher. You're supposed to be a pretend student. If you're being a pretend student, don't sell your pretend teacher as an actual teacher. Just live in your escapism. Enjoy your escapism. Because they're talking noses. All right, which one of these is West African? You know what I mean? If you look at enough ancient Egyptian artwork, you got all kinds of different noses. You got wide noses like most of these. You got a narrow nose like him. You know what I'm saying? This is Benin. I want to check out Benin. If I go to one spot in Africa, it'd be the Sudan. If I could go to two, Benin. You know, because they got magic wands. You know, like they put some mojo on. I mean, you can maybe use that shit. You know, if not, you can scare somebody with it because there's enough spooky people out there. You know, and it ain't just a select few. When you look at them rolled up, you know, we don't really see Egyptian artwork like this. So you got people like Lex Vortex talking about alkaline noses. Like, how much coke can you do with alkaline nose? You got to put a Q sound on it, Lex. It's aquiline. Another thing I hear is about all this. You'll hear people say ancient Egyptians weren't black. And then they'll say like Nubians. I'm like, what the hell's a Nubian? And that's a whole different thing. You know, or something like that. They weren't. I'm like, come on now. Since when did you have to be this dark to be considered black? You know what I'm saying? This was basically the usual way in there depicted. And if you're going to argue that this is multiracial, then we're going to have to do something with Greece and Rome. That's where these images are coming from. And Britain, too, if we go way back. You know, you have to include Britain in this multiracial stuff. It just shows they're not looking at the art. You know, see, when I looked in the art, I looked even deep within. For Young Pharaoh to make that argument that you need an intermediate nose, because I know it sounds like I'm making it up, but if you listen to it, that's the only way it's coherent. I won't say it makes sense because it don't make sense, but that's the only way it's a coherent thought is if you accept that that's what he's saying. Otherwise, what is he saying? Because he's saying you can't speak it because your nose is too wide. Africans, like, that's literally what he's trying to portray. That level of scholarship. That's why I don't even take him seriously. This is why I'm not going to be talking about him anymore. Like, I'm done. I talked about him to call out behavior so people could see. And some people probably listen to me. Some people, whatever. Now it's happened so often that you're either just into that cult stuff and you ain't gonna listen to me anyway, or yo, dumbass, like you need more examples. Okay, you know what I mean? But him and Lex, with Lexo is deeper than that though. I'll get to what it's about with Lex. It's kind of a sadder thing with Lex, but I don't know. Let me play this again because a lot of this is kind of hard to believe. Oh, yeah. Come on, Lex.
When we see Ramses red hair, we got people making up lame excuses, talking about horrors because some scientific chemical reaction.
Lex. You would need a scientific chemical reaction to produce red hair on somebody with that complexion. That's a rare, odd twist of pigment mutations to produce red hair on somebody with this complexion. That's kind of different. But really, it's simpler than that, Lex. He was 90 when he died. You know, I'll let Jackie Corliss say it. And this is the web page that was reporting that lie. That's down right now. But this some hair page was reporting that they tested his hair and it was really red, even though dude was 90. She wrote that book right there. If you can kind of barely see it. It's like the history of red hair. She says that Ramses died in 1213 BC at the age of 90, and his own hair by that point was white, unsurprisingly. Unsurprisingly to you, but I know somebody who might be surprised by that. And she goes on to say it was dyed with henna. You know, like her skin, the Herero tribe, they like that henna. I told you, when I get hot, every slide is a mic drop. And you're going to have to change my name to Mic Drop Bitch, because I got enough Central Eastern European, and I got some Slav, and I'm going to have to be Mic Drop Bitch, because this is just ridiculous. And, you know, with these facial features and this skin tone, and yeah, you would need some science, Lex, some science. Oh man, they're gonna take this video down with my channel with it. I know it. I know it. Because I know they love Lex. They love Lex, man. They like him more than Young Pharaoh now. They keep making me do this.
They'll attack the Hebrews on things like this. Why don't y'all take a DNA test and see if you're really Hebrew? See if you got that name. Well, they did the DNA test on a lot of these pharaohs. And guess what? Even to I heard people try to debunk it with like Tutankhamun, but if either you're going to accept the white man's science or not, it's not white now. Now all of a sudden it becomes white man's science. Before that, they argue, well, it's not white man's science, it's science. But when the white man said Tutankhamun is related to 70% of the Europeans on Earth, now all of a sudden, oh, we can't trust the Europeans. Well, when can we trust them?
First, I want to play some BTF.
Immigrants proved themselves to be quite gullible indeed. I told you what gullible is, didn't I? Gullible is not just somebody who believes falsehoods. It's somebody who's particularly susceptible to lies. It's not just a matter of they believe something that wasn't true. These guys tend to fall for whatever is patently false. The bigger the lie, the more likely they are to fall for it. That's gullible.
Now, Karsten Push, you can look them up. If I go all the way back to JAMA, there's Karsten Push, PhD. He was part of the people that sampled King Tut's genetics and the whole Armana family, right? Okay. Now I got to go back. Don't play. Now, in Live Science, he was talking about that whole thing, about that Igenia. That was a company that claimed that they ran King Tut's ancestry, and that he was, he had, I think, what is it? I don't even have it low. R1B1A2, which is heavy in Western Europe. Karsten Push said, it appears they're trying to sell their DNA testing kit by using the media attention connected to King Tut. Should take Igenia's claims with a grain of salt. Why is he saying this? Because they didn't have enough data to predict that. They were, you know, that just shows you that the prop is different than the actual data. And the actual data wasn't even close to that anyway. It was an isolated haplogroup, and the actual data is showing more inter-African genes. I say isolated, but I might be R1B1A2 or close to it. Actually, I am part A2. Great grandpa. That's what's going on. Like, this is the actual dude that was part of the sample. He knows, but even if he didn't say it, all you got to do is look at the actual data. It's not enough to predict the haplogroup. And even if it was, said something, but it's not there. There's no supplementary data that supports that. It was just a media lie. It was just a lie that got floated around. It's like, there's this wise dude. He says this a lot. He says, a well-organized lie defeats a disorganized truth. every time. Ooh wee, and he's right. This is a perfect example of that. Wait till I get to the black media. I really wish I didn't have to go there, but hey. All right. Encore Lex. What's she talking about?
And then you take a crew like the Ra squad, right? And they'll attack the Hebrews on things like this. Why don't y'all take a DNA test?
What is your attachment to Northeast Africa?
To Northeast Africa.
Where Egypt now
Okay, we'll get there. Now, dealing with my history, where I'm from in Nigeria, and I've talked about this before, time and time again, yeah? The people from West Africa were traveling both from to North Africa and East Africa. Now, one of my ancestors, great ancestors, you can check him out, called Oduduwa, yeah? He tells you in the history that we have in our museums, he came from East Africa, from Nubia, over. And he's the one that came over and brought the Yoruba language. You see what I'm saying? And then that's why you can see the correlations between the spiritual systems in Nigeria and the spiritual system in Kemet.
And dropping the mic on this shit too. For real, this book goes into more detail about the Yoruba coming from the Sudan. It's not much. It's just good content. And there's two different oral histories from different tribes, different locations. S&P wise, I'm strong Yoruba. STR, I'm weak Yoruba. I'm like nothing on Yoruba. I get 0 in my life score. You could probably dig it up on Egypt Search. So what that shows is I'm not recent Yoruba, but I'm ancestral. They're like ancestor. It's not just Sim. Like if you look number one, Guinea-Bissau, main ethnicity for Guinea-Bissau, this is me, is the Balanta people. It says, among them, oral traditions, amongst the Balanta, has it they migrated westward from the area known that is now Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. Now with the Luya, as you can see, the Luya, you can kind of barely see it. It goes Yoruba, Yembe. I said at the beginning, this stuff is going to be zoomed out. And then it's like Kenya Bantu and then Luya Kenya. Or yeah, right? Luya Kenya's fourth. Says that same thing. You can barely see it though. But you could look up just your Luya people, Obama's tribe. But they say today, Misri, which is like the Bible name, is Egypt. They say they came from North Africa, from Misri. I took the ancestry test, Lex. But it gets deeper than that. Because he was talking about the Hebrew Israelites too. He was like, why don't you take an ancestry test? He was calling out the Hebrew Israelites. It's about to get deep. And let me tell you first, before I go there. Let me tell you first. I'm not a Hebrew Israelite. And I'm just not. Man, shit, I don't need this. Boy, I gotta be up late and I gotta go to work tomorrow, but I'm not a Hebrew Israelite because I think the first Exodus is part of a group of stories that I don't even come close to imagining. I don't go into the first Exodus. I think the second Exodus, that's dubious, but I'll let them tell it. I'll let Slow-Mo Sands tell it. But I'm open to certain things. The first Exodus, whatever. Come on now. That don't make no sense. That whole Moses story is just fairy tale to me. Okay? And I'm just saying that because based on DNA tribes, I'm Jewish because of the Luya and the Yoruba. Now, why is this? Because why am I a Jew? So are you. Anybody who isn't like East Asian. Like if you're European, you're African, you're Middle Eastern. Because one thing I've noticed, the haplogroups that are assigned to Jewish ancestry, they're suppositions. You know, they're genes by proxy. They're like, oh, you're Jewish, okay, you must have Jewish genes. And they do that in Europe, they do that in the Middle East, and all DNA tribes are saying, well, Africa too. Let me play a little bit more, Lex, and this will be it.
When the white man says Tutankhamun is related to 70%.
Let me pause this. Just say Tut. Just say Tut, dude. That's why his name is abbreviated to that. Just say Tut. That should be his new theme song. Just say Tut.
On Earth, now all of a sudden, oh, we can't trust the European. Well, when can we trust them?
I'm gonna leave it there because you heard it before. This ain't new. He says some other stuff, so I've responded to some other stuff that isn't in the propaganda video. See, I gotta break it down cold. I gotta really get it broken down because I like to look at things at the core. The problem with Lex and the problem with a lot of people is that they're afraid to die. You know what I mean? That's all it is. And because he's afraid to die, he has to look for reasons to argue against evolution. This whole thing with King Tut is rooted in evolution, just like that whole thing with Umar Johnson and SETI and these elder tribunal, that was rooted in them running from the debate. And if you get to looking at the exterior or something too much, you might just miss the obvious in the core. And this is all about the fear of death. To answer his question, you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. I can't tell you to trust the albino that classifies itself as or themselves as white. I can't tell you to trust their science. They're wrong about a lot of shit, and they're bigoted, and they have race bias, and they seem to be a little bit paranoid. You know, don't trust it. You look at it, and if you understand it, then you accept enough of it to where you have that understanding and perspective to what you're looking at next. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? Stevie Wonder said it best in that Superstitious song. He said, if you believe in something you don't understand, you suffer. He just cut to the chase. You know, he didn't say your society will collapse, your women will start hoeing and all that, or your people go hungry. He just said you suffer because that's what it'll lead to. And I refuse to do that. Look, I'm afraid to die. If you're not afraid to die, you're not living. You know what I'm saying? I would love to look at the black mother goddess wake up. The black woman is God and suckle from her bosom. And you know what? Them albino people would too. Because permanent death is not the business. Nobody wants to die and just stay dead. That's only good in massive multiplayer games because, you know, if there's no penalty for dying in them games, people they find a warthog and kick it in the side to get some experience and some pork. You know, motherfucker don't even eat pork. I mean, that's how it is. Like, I got to tell you what it is at the core, man, because people are acting stupid. Like, that's not what it's about. It's about the fear of death. You know what I'm saying? And you understand things. That's it right there. If you understand it, then you accept it or you reject it. But you got to first have some knowledge about it. Look into it. Otherwise, you're just running in fear, and your mind is running in fear, and everything you do is based on fear. Because I proved evolution last year, and I'm melanated. In this video, I proved evolution. See, all you can run is logical proofs. You can't run absolute proofs when it comes to science. Anything that has enough variable data, an absolute, come on now. And a lot of times you won't even know what the logic adds up to. But what I did is I saw that albino tigers, the albino classified as white and just albinos that aren't classified as white, they got the same pigment mutations, or the same genes mutate in a way that reduces melanin. That's the best way I could say it. And it was one pigment gene in tigers. And I said, I bet if I look at other albino animals, I'm going to see that too. I looked at albino animals and I saw pigment gene after pigment gene. And these same pigment genes were the ones that were used to determine that Neanderthals had dark skin, because they had the same pigment genes as people with dark skin, other humans. And I'm not going to sit there and say Neanderthals aren't human when I'm speaking English and I'm going along with everything else, but just to add some flavor to my miseducation, because I'm going to just say they're not human and make up some primate stuff and ignore that I'm speaking English, and as an English word, primate includes human. And that's the type of nonsense that's going on, and it comes from the fear of death. And unless you give up that fear, you always be victim to it. You know, because it's up, you're going to have the fear, I should say. So let me rephrase it. It's not even so much giving up the fear, it's basing your decisions on it, basing your livelihood and all that, you know. The reality is exercise more, Lex, and live longer, enjoy your life. That's it. You know what I'm saying? But that's it. I'm getting to the core of it. All of this nonsense about a 90-year-old dude having red hair, about not being able to speak a language because your nose is too wide, it comes from fear and exploiting fear. With Pharaoh, it's more exploiting you. With him, this is the type of person that is easy to exploit.